Hello, legends and super legends. Welcome to Veloharmony Live subscriber hangout. Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. Hope you all are doing well. It's once again hot here in Central Texas. I decided to start this a little earlier this week. We've got a lot of people that attend regularly that are in the UK, and it's a little later for them. So we'll try slightly different times as we go along to kind of accommodate the regulars and of course our super legends. Let me get loaded up here. So I hope you all have been doing well. The live session is very popular on this channel and I enjoy doing it. We, of course, focus on the patrons and the super legends. And those of you who want your questions answered, make sure you take advantage of the super chats to make sure you move up in line. And at least that will guarantee your question get addressed in the session you're attending. So I hope you all got a chance to ride this weekend. We had a great ride on Saturday. I also rode on Sunday as well. So I was able to get a lot of Ks in this weekend. That's always nice to be able to do that. So even though it's hot, I'm just making sure I drink more. That's the main change. And of course, wearing lighter fabrics. In fact, I just finished some clips. They're not ready for production yet, but Cycle Warrior X attended the premiere on Monday. Hey, DJ, welcome. He attended the premiere. He started to ask about the jersey I was wearing during the ride, which is the Rafa lightweight brevet jersey. And I've gone ahead. I started the clips for. I'm doing a thorough review of the brevet jersey, the lightweight jersey, because it's completely different than the brevet jersey they've made in the past. And so I did a slight comparison to the other brevet jersey and showed the differences because I was a bit on the fence and skeptical when I ordered it, because it said it was for hot weather, and my exposure to brevet jersey had been the warmer versions that they'd made for cooler weather. And it ended up working so well. I love the fit, everything about it. So there will be a review coming out on Friday, thorough review to let you guys take advantage. Those of you who are looking for something, I like it because it has a lot of pockets and it's very distinctive. And so I wanted something different, so it hit the spot. Robert Tangler, welcome, super legend. Jeffrey, how are you doing? Abit Nawaz from the tune in the UK. I see somebody named Casey. Casey, welcome. Thank you for all your amazing instruction, especially the bike fit videos. So helpful. I'm glad the videos help you. That's great. It's good to hear that. And Robert Tangler put it right. He said one time, he said he feels, and I'm paraphrasing, he said that I feel good that I'm supporting Veloharmony. It was a day where I think it was a crappy day weather-wise, and we still did like 100 miles that day on that Saturday. And so he just made a comment. He said, I know I made the right decision in supporting Veloharmony, blah, 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 because you guys really stick to it, because it encourages others to stick to their program when we brave it, And those of you who are here for the Velo Minati rules, there's a rule in there. I forgot the number, but if you're riding in bad weather, when it's hot, very cold, you're just a badass, period. I like that. And I'm paraphrasing. You got to check it out. If you are not familiar with the Velo Minati, it's a bunch of guys that call themselves keepers of the cog. And it's just for fun. It's good. They got some neat stuff. Check out their rules. Some of them you will like, some of them you frown upon, but take the ones you like and incorporate it into your mantra. Velo Minati, Velominati, because they call themselves keepers of the cog. And I love the rule. What number is that? Rule number 5 said, harden the F up. So that's a good rule too. It's like a fallback rule. But what I like is rule number 9. So if you're out riding in bad weather, it means you're a badass, period. I love that. And bad weather to them means that hot, cold, wet, extremely hot. They call it inordinately hot or whatever. They said fair weather riding is a luxury reserved for Sunday afternoons and wide boulevards. And the reason I like that is I like to stick to a schedule because it balances everything I'm doing. And so I've got a window to ride, and I don't let the weather stop me. So I get what is necessary to deal with the weather, whatever it's doing in that window. Unless it's unsafe, then I get on the trainer, But I like that. And so you check out those rules. I think you'll like it. Some of them you'll laugh at. John Hill, welcome from Michigan. DJ Tony, where is your accent from? You should have been on the radio. My accent. Let's see. It's a combination. I grew up in Western Africa in a country called Liberia, in the capital city of Monrovia. So it's sort of kind of continental per se. We speak really fast. English is the standard language, but it's kind of Americanized / British, because you remember Liberia was not a colony. The freed slaves from the U.S. went back and started that country. And then you have our neighbors in Sierra Leone. They speak French. Then we have Guinea. They speak French. Then you have Nigeria, 2 hours away by air. So in the region from Western Africa to Central Africa, you've got all these countries, like you got Cameroon and Djibouti. So there's a mix. And so it's hard to really say where the accent comes from. It's just a combination of different languages. But where I grew up, we had a lot of American schools run by the Brothers and Sisters of the Holy Cross, Catholic. And so they ran the schools. So the language you learned in school was American English. And what you spoke on the street was a combination of everything else. American, British, French, you name it, because it was a melting pot, So that's where it is. And then I travel a lot, so you pick up stuff. But in school, you're taught to speak proper English. That's a joke that in America, they haven't spoken English for years. Henry Higgins made that joke in the movie, a spin on Pygmalion, My Fair Lady. So your accent has a lot to do with the influences where you grew up and so forth. And so, that's where it's from, So it's more of a combination of British / American kind of thing there. It's a twine. So it may sound slightly Caribbean because that's the same thing they're exposed to. There's a mixture there too. So they have different way of speaking. Yeah. Chris Batter and I from England. Did you check out Justin Williams? Do you think Team Ineos are jinked? No, I didn't check out Justin Williams, Chris. I don't know what's going on with Team Ineos. It was kind of a fluke. It's unfortunate. I was hoping that he'd go for number 5. Chris Froome was going for number 5, but kind of a weird accident. My thing with those guys, I watched them a lot in the pro peloton. They seem to fall too frequently. And some of their falls just seem careless. And I'll specify. You watch some of the races, they've got people standing in the middle of the road with flags, letting them know that there is an obstruction. They call, the traffic furniture. That's what the people refer to them as. And some of these guys are running into stuff, even though they know it's there. I mean, they train in Europe. They train on the same roads. So I think they just take too many risks, and it's just a job. You're the asset. You need to protect yourself. Because if you get damaged, the team cannot keep you on contract if you can't perform. So I think they need to be more careful. Even though they're racing for a living, they should put their safety first. I think they just take too many chances. Because sometimes I'll be watching the race and they'll fall. And I'm like, okay, what caused that? And even the commentators, you guys have seen them. Even the commentators will replay and say, okay, what happened there? There's nothing wrong with the road there. I think they take too many chances. Some of you have heard, I don't remember the name of the rider, maybe a season or two ago. This guy put his hand in the wheel while the bike was moving. He was trying to remove something, and his hand got caught in the spokes. So that was the end of his race now. I mean, they do stuff that you or I wouldn't do. So, sometimes I'm like, these guys are just nuts. And I guess it takes a certain mindset to be a professional bike racer. So they're almost kind of like kamikaze. Well, I wouldn't use the word kamikaze. They're just, I don't know. The word eludes me. they're almost on the edge of risque per se. You know, they just take chances. Some of that crashes don't make sense to me. I'm like, you guys ride all the time. Sometimes they'll fall. I'm like, why did he fall there? What happened? And what happened with Chris Froome is that he took his hands off the bars to blow his nose. And there's nothing you can do about the gust of wind, you know, hitting, you know that he's on his time trial bike, and you know they got special these deep dish wheels and whatever, and wind is not your friend from the side. And it seems like he wasn't expecting the wind, so he wasn't holding the bars. So yeah, but the surgery was successful, so hopefully he'll be back. I mean, I don't know, but that messes up his main goal. You know, you think about it, he's been training since last year for the tour, so it's got to be a little demoralizing for him. But hopefully he'll pep up. So I don't know what's going on with him. I believe there was another guy who had a crash probably before they switched to any of the young guy, Bernal, early in the year, had some kind of crash as well. So I don't know who's going to. They got Thomas now, so Thomas is going to go defend, I guess. I don't know how they were going to handle that anyway, because you got a defending champion and a former champion on the same team, even though they're friends. I mean, I'm not going to lay down because Froome one's number 5. That was what I was thinking about. I was looking forward to seeing how the team was going to deal with that. Because you guys remember in the 80s, that was Hinault and my man Le Monde. And even though Hinault had promised that if you help me win this one, I will help you. And Le Monde basically laid down that year before, because without him, I don't think Hinault would have won number 5. And because he was actually made to slow down in that year to wait for Hinault when he could have won the Tour that year. And then the next year, Hinault reneged. And so they had a lot of conflict in that team. So it probably would have been something similar like that. So hopefully, you know, I'll look up that whoever Justin, let's see here. Justin Williams. Let me see. I just pulled up Justin Williams cycling team. Peloton magazine. Human race. Never heard of Justin Williams. 28. Hey, from LA, huh? Okay. Yeah, I'll read up about him. Back in the 80s, there was a guy named a track racer. Rafa just did a kit for him, the sprinter, Nelson Vales. And I think he went to the Olympics as well. He was very good. Let's see what Justin has done. DJ from San Francisco. I love that city. I've been there on business and actually pleasure in the past. San Francisco is famous for one of my favorite movie characters, Dirty Harry. They showed it on Father's Day weekend. They went through all his work, Clint's work, Magnum Force and Dirty Harry, and you know, all of those movies. That was cool. I tried to watch them, but they run too many commercials. So instead of the movie being an hour and a half, it ends up being 3 hours. I don't have time to sit there that long. So I recorded them and then sped it up. You know, thank God for Netflix, because they have some nice films on there and there's no commercials. So I watch a lot of movies on Netflix. The commercials waste a lot of time. Larry, welcome. Philly in the house. Robert Tangler, how far would you drive in order to ride if the ride offered better climbs? Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, when I used to compete, the longest we drove for that was like 10 hours. And that was because we were getting ready to do a race in Colorado area. We drove 10 hours to West Texas to New Mexico. Alamogordo. It was a little town. Hotels were inexpensive, you know, and you can climb all day. I just found them kind of boring, to tell you the truth. You know, like I said in one of the videos, is that even if you ride the same course, it's more interesting with the company you keep. So depending on who you're riding with or who shows up, everything about the ride changes. It's the same thing with climbs. If you do a long climb every time by yourself, those of you who live in hilly areas, you know what I'm talking about. Even if it's the same climb you've done all week and you get new people coming in that change the character of the ride, it's more fun. But doing it by yourself, it gets dull. I don't like to climb for 2 hours. And a lot of those climbs, the speeds are low, the power's up if you're working hard, and so you're going slow. So if you're just doing it by yourself, it's better to do it with like a program where, okay, I'm going to go hard for 20 minutes and then rest. That's how we used to do it. So as the pitches would come, and you hammer them because you climb and then it levels off and then you climb. So you're climbing longer. It's like you're connecting little climbs. And that we do something similar when we go out here. Every time the road goes up, everybody hammers it. But yeah, I would drive a whole day for an interesting ride, Robert, to say, versus just to go do climb. And a ride would be the atmosphere. Who's going to be there? What is the ride about? That kind of stuff. That's what makes the ride. The people that are there or the reason for the event. And that's really why a lot of guys do rides, the rides for a good cause or whatever. Or I've never written that, like the wall there's a wall that Lance and them used to ride. I think it was in Philly. It was one of the U.S. pro races. I think it's called Manayank Wall. Forgive me if I messed up the name. It was a wall that that was where all the attacks would go. Everybody knew the attacks were coming. But if you can't put out the wattage, it doesn't matter whether you know. And that's the key to cycling, which is fun. It's like, it does not matter if you know what's going to happen. What matters is, can you put out that power to stay on the wheel in front of you if somebody's putting out 1,200 watts or whatever, or 900 watts to get up a little bump, So yeah, if it's interesting, Robert, yeah, I'd drive a whole day if necessary. But it's based on not so much the location as opposed to the character. Who's going to be there? What is it about? That's what really makes it interesting. Yeah. Hey, Daryl, welcome. Daryl Shanks. Oh, Chris Barron says Thomas and another rider the day before crashed too. Wow. Okay. I hope it's not too serious. I will research that. Let's see here. What's going on with Geraint Thomas? Geraint Thomas injury. He's all clear for the tour after a heavy crash. Wow. In the Tour de Suisse. Yeah, yesterday has been given all clear. Yeah, I'm not following the Tour de Suisse very closely. I followed Sagan's tweet, so I get his updates. He's been doing updates about the finishes per se. Yeah, but that's good that he was taken to the hospital after crashing in the Tour de Suisse. Wow. He was not seriously injured. Okay, well, that's good. But he gave up the Tour de Suisse. Yeah, they just seem to, bike racing. That's why bike racing is very dangerous, and you have to do your best to be alert, and even that, tell all stay near the front. Yeah, sometimes crashes happen near the front, but there's just some. When I watch the European pros and some of their crashes, I'm like, why did they fall there? Some of that stuff seems to be a little reckless, because people taking chances. I think everybody wants to be on TV and they're trying to get everybody through, especially when the road's narrow, everybody wants to be at the front. It's not possible. So yeah, well, that's good that he's not seriously hurt, man. That's terrible. It's disheartening. Christopher been training for the Tour de France since last year. So it's like you train for one race and then you can't, and you get hurt. Well, what are you supposed to do with the rest of the year? You got to come up with a new objective, a new reason to get back on the bike now. And so it's going to be tough, but it's good that he's not seriously hurt. So Bernal had his share of bad luck. I believe last year he had a crash. One time he hurt his face or something. He's had all kinds of crashes. They need to be more careful. You're riding all the time. I mean, sometimes they take chances. Sometimes I'll see them. It's windy and they're trying to sit upright and doing other stuff. It doesn't take much for that front, especially now all the lightweight bikes that we got, Back in the day, you had a steel fork. At least it kept you on the road. You know, that's why I train on my Colnago all week. I love that the ride. The ride is good. It's heavy, but it's solid. Coming down when you're going fast downhill, it's solid. I don't think it's because of the bikes. I think it's just these guys. They got more riders. You know, the races are bigger. You got 200 and some riders, like in the Tour. I think they're trying to keep it down. I think they reduced the teams. I believe last year was 8. I'm gonna find out how many riders are eligible now. So they don't have the high number of riders per team anymore. For that very reason, because some of the roads are narrow. So yeah, that's good to know. We have a new person here, Nima. Welcome. First time here. It's always good to have more people join us. Let's see. John Wesley says, Elder, what's your thoughts on pre and post hydration, supplements, etc.? I'm not sure what BCAA means. Let's see. Do you think they are really needed? Is it just marketing hype for the most part? No, it's not marketing hype. I'm going to talk more about pre and post hydration as far as, I mean, like right now, it's hot. I rode hard yesterday, Tuesday, to kind of get my body back into the week. Monday, I take a day off. It's very good. Even Le Mans in his book, who's one of the people that I followed when I raced, said that you have to teach your body how to not ride. Because there are times you'll be traveling to a race, you're sitting in a bus, on a train, whatever. Your body needs to know how to not ride. Okay? So Mondays are a good day to not ride. You start in the week, you had a long weekend. Usually Saturday, Sunday, we ride. So Monday, you rest. Let your muscles and your mind or whatever heal. And Tuesday is a good day to go test yourself to see, how did I recover? Rest does not mean don't drink, don't eat, whatever. And that's what I'm getting to. When you're on the bike, you do need to make sure you're hydrating, but as well as off the bike. If your urine is not clear, you're behind. You need to drink more water, whatever. You want to drink juice, that's up to you. Whatever you have a taste for, but you need to make sure that most of the time, or all the time, when you go to the restroom, your urine should be clear. Because if it's yellow or, other color, that means you don't have enough fluids in you, especially when it's hot. We had 2 guys over the weekend that had problems with the weather. I found out on Sunday that Mark had to get a ride. I mean, 2 of the riders were with him because they came back from the lake. We went further out. So they came on the way back. He couldn't make it home. So Randy stayed with him. Victor rode, got Randy's truck and went back and got both of them. I think it's the heat and other things that are going on. And I told you guys about the new guy who basically was bonking, and I had to give him a gel and drop the pace and stay back with him. The group was not aware. But I keep my eye, that's just me. I keep my eye on people, especially people who I don't know. I have not shown that they have the experience or the ability to handle the ride, because when the guy was getting very beet red, it was hot on Saturday. And so I knew something was up. And then on a downhill, he hung his head and he couldn't even stay on my wheel. And I was hanging back with him because after the stop, the group kept going and he kept riding slower and slower. And he was like, well, I got my GPS. And then I could tell his breathing was off, his skin, he just didn't look right. And I told him, no, I'm going to hang back with you just to make sure. And I'm glad I did. So I made him stop. We stopped in a driveway on Jackson Road, gave him, and I'm getting to something here, gave him a gel, had him drink. He had water on the bike, but he wasn't drinking because he was too worried about holding the wheels. I showed on the video where in the forest, he was expending a lot of energy just to stay on the wheels. And this was after that. So all in his mind, all he was focused on is, I got to, that's how guys are. I don't want to get dropped. I don't want to get gapped. Just let people know we're going too fast. So they're going to back off. And so he was focusing on that. He forgot to drink. So he drank, I took I had ice water and I poured it on his neck and he started feeling better. So we rode in slower than the group. Then they realized we weren't there. They knew something was up. And so they waited at the store in Magnolia. When we got there, then he said, yeah, the ride's too long and I haven't done this and whatever. And he had come with Doug Schott. So Doug Schott stayed back with him because I wanted to go ahead and finish my ride. And that's why you saw on the route. But the point I'm getting to is if you're not on a bike, you still have to hydrate. The reason I drink before I walk out the door is I don't want to carry 3 bottles since I'm carrying the gimbal. Because usually during the week when I don't have the gimbal, if I'm going for a long ride, I will put a 3rd bottle in the middle pocket. The reason I do is I don't want to stop that often. So 3 bottles with ice and water in 2 and then electrolyte in 1. Then as I'm heading out the door, I take a bottle of electrolyte in my system so that I have enough. Because if you have enough fluid, it doesn't matter what the weather's doing. Of course, I wear lightweight jersey this time of year. You just got to know that. But it's not marketing to say as far as electrolytes and then recovery stuff, because I don't just drink water. When I get back home, I use a powder. You guys that are on here, if you look in the nutritional playlist, you will find it. High Five Nutrition is what I use. I'm sure they have other things. I have Vitalite also. I've made a review video about that. I mix the scoops with electrolyte, and then I drink that as soon as I get in the house. That starts replenishing all the glycogen you've lost on the road. And within 2 hours, I eat something solid food. Then the next day, especially Saturday, and the next day, Sunday, I feel like I didn't ride that much on Saturday. If you miss that window of the 2-hour window to get your body, because your body is processing more efficiently within 2 hours after you ride. So don't miss that window. Those first 2 hours, try to get out of fluids or electrolytes and solid food in your system so your body can process it quickly. Now, worst case scenario, you don't do it within 2 hours. Just know that you'll be a little more tired the next day because then your body will process it slower. But that's its best window for processing. If you watch the pros, when they finish a hill climb or whatever, somebody hands them something. Somebody will start with water and then they'll drink some kind of colored drink in a bottle or whatever. That's so they can be ready the next day to ride. It works. Now, as far as supplements, there's no parameter. There's no industry regulator that says this supplement is good, this supplement is bad. It's an industry that people make stuff, and some are better than others. And I've said before, unless you feel you're lacking in something, you don't really need supplements. The carbohydrate mixture that I take is not a supplement. It's like liquid food. So instead of eating, say, pasta as soon as I walk in the house, it's more tolerable to take carbohydrate in the powder form. So I don't consider that to be supplement. I don't think that's what you meant. So the powdered carbohydrates and all the electrolytes and other things that they sell for recovery, they work. I've used them when I competed. I use them today. That's why I'm able to ride. Like this weekend, I rode 101 miles on Saturday, and then I rode 80 miles on Sunday. To be able to do that, I had to recover properly and get enough rest and eat within that window that I mentioned. I follow that religiously because it works. And I'm not the only one that follows that. And the information is out there. Every cyclist, you go to races that people travel to, they've got their recovery pack either in a cooler or whatever, sitting in their car, van, whatever. As soon as the race is over, they start. Even if they're not racing the next day, because you will feel better. And then some riders will go and spin later in the evening after a hard ride or race. I felt better on Sunday than Saturday because Friday I couldn't ride. Usually on Friday, I try to spin for 45 minutes to an hour, kind of get your body out of the cobwebs. If I take the day off, it takes about an hour or two to get my body going on Saturday. That's just me. And there's a lot of riders that do that. So they work. Now, supplements, don't go and break the bank to get supplements. Like I said, there's no guarantee that your body needs it. And all will happen, it will just pass through you if you don't need it. So really, I just tell people, just eat whatever you're craving. Eat vegetables, rice, whatever it is you eat. Just eat. In this part of the world, most people are not behind on supplements. So just keep that in mind. I don't think unless a doctor says, oh, you're low in vitamin C. And a lot of times if a doctor finds it, they'll probably give you a shot of vitamin C because it's more effective. So I don't use supplements. I just eat. The only things I use are the carbohydrate powder mixes to just make sure I get fuel into my leg muscles, because I can tolerate that right after I get back. Because what I do is I take that carbohydrate mix right away, then I go shower, clean up, and then go find something to eat. That's the thing. So even if you skip the carbohydrate mix, just make sure you eat something within, But the carbohydrate mix is more efficient in helping the body process it, because it comes in liquid form. And so it will get in there and you replenish your reserves quickly. Okay, so it does work. But as far as the supplement stuff, I don't know about all that. I don't take supplements. I just eat. I mean, I like to eat, and I guess that's why I'm glad I work out, because that's one of the pleasures of life. I just eat a variety of. I eat whatever I do. Sometimes when I feel like a steak, and I'll just tell my wife, "Okay, let's do that today." Or sometimes I feel like fish. Whatever you feel like, there's a tendency. I really believe that your mind will tell you what you crave, and if you crave, just go for it. I eat throughout the day. I keep snacks in my office, the desk. I have peanut butter snack like Belvita peanut butter snacks. I take that with me on the ride sometimes. That's why I talk about having variety on the rides. 6 hours, I don't do just gels. You'd get bored with it, so I mix it up. I'm going to bake banana bread tomorrow, so I can take some over the weekend. Take a variety so it's fun. At the stops, everybody's taking out solids to eat. That's where we eat. So I hope this will help you. But yes, except for the supplements, the rest of the stuff works. You need recovery stuff after every ride, so you can be ready to go the next time. And that's the reason, unfortunately, I will add this. This is why the guys were forced to take the human growth and all that stuff. Even weightlifters, like with steroids. What happens is when you work out, you tear down the muscle. The natural process of recovery needs time. So they take these things so they can go work out quicker than the rest. Because the more you work out, the stronger you'll get. But you only get strong if you've recovered. And so those things that they were taking, even though they were illegal, were enabling them to work out more frequently. And then sometimes if you abuse them, you don't allow the body to have its natural healing, because you're tearing down muscle tissue. And that's what way can lead into problems like people who take steroids and they push too much weight and they blow joints and other things. That's it. When you start doing something unnatural, the body has not been allowed to heal. And so every athlete is different. So you must find how long you need to recover between hard workouts. That's why training is so complicated. Everybody knows that, I got to go ride, but you can't ride hard the same level every day. That's why weightlifters go, they alternate. So find out how much recovery you need between hard workouts. Once you get that nailed down, then you time it to where, okay, I've got a big ride, hard ride this weekend. Then you get to that weekend for your hard workout for that ride. That's the way riders do it. And then riders that have 2 rides back to back, the first day, they will spin more because they know I got another ride. So on Saturday, I spin more. On Sunday, I know I will rest on Monday. At the end of that Sunday ride, that's when you can ride the harder gears even more. So you got to always have that in your mind. So I hope this helps. Training is such a complicated schedule. We don't have enough time to cover it here. So I will stop there. Thank you, Robert, for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. Let's see here. Nima Forogui. I hope I didn't slaughter that. Hello, my first time here. How do you summarize your channel in a few sentences? Nice question. Never thought about it that way. Well, the Common Sense Cycling Educational Channel. I kind of put that I didn't use that exact phrase, but part of it is there. That's how I would summarize this channel. Common Sense Cycling Educational Channel, where we break things down to where you don't need to be a rocket scientist or a super athlete to understand what we're talking about. It's for everybody who wants to ride a bike. Eric Nell, welcome, man. I haven't heard from you in a while. Super legend, welcome. So DJ Tony, is Paul in the house? No, Paul is not in the house. Paul lives about 15 minutes from here. Middle of the week falls into other things. And I don't think he's logged on either. So yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Paul and I chatted. Paul had a birthday this week, so we talked a little bit about it. You know, they had Father's Day on Sunday. His kids took him out. You know, so he was busy after the Saturday ride. That's probably why he showed up late for the ride on Saturday. There's always a lot of stuff going on. My wife had to kick me out of the bed because I kept pushing the snooze. It was like 9 minutes, 9 minutes. You know, because I stayed up late hanging out with my daughters. You know, they're into that Father's Day thing. Let's see here. DJ Tony says at Chris Barron. Oh, he's talking to Chris about people crashing. Yeah. Those crashes, some of them can be avoided. So Asborn says one of the local climbs here is 7.8 kilometers. So let's see. I'm going to round it up to, it's probably 5.5, almost 6 miles. And it's 8.9% average, 30 minutes ride for me. He says brutal. Okay, the reason I decided to mention that is, okay, 9%. The steepest climbs we ride regularly have pitches up to 7%. And I ride a 39.25 in the 7%, comfortably sitting. Okay. So if I lived over there where he is, and he got that 30-minute ride, and let's say I wanted to do that climb all the time or often, I would probably add a 30 or a 32 to my bike, and maybe have a bike like the orange bike with a 36, which would mean that there would be days where I would do that same climb, and I would use my smaller ratios, and so it's not that brutal. I would just spin. That's what I'm saying. So it doesn't matter what the gradient is. You know, people will come and say, oh, I got a 15% climb, 20%. We're in Austin. We had a 20% road. I've talked about it before, called Buford, near where I live. I never rode it. You couldn't ride it. It was just terrible. I don't care what you put on the bike. You can't ride it. You just, you stand and you zigzag and whatever. And it was so steep that even for the car, so what they did is they laid the pavement and put grooves in the pavement to give cars more traction. Because when it rained, cars would slide while going downhill because it was twisty. It's still there. Buford, is well known. But we never rode it. I avoided it. I took the long way home just to avoid it. It's not fun. So the steeper climb, like the Motirolo and all those things, those guys, they don't ride that often. And it depends on which direction of the Motirolo. I'm using that as an example. But when you're dealing with very steep pitches, 7 to 9% is not too bad. If you're going to ride them often, on your easier days, you're going to have to use lower ratios. So you have to get gears for the areas you live in or the areas you ride the most frequently. So around here, I talked to Mo one time on a ride. I asked him what gearing he has. Mo runs an 11.23. That might as well be a straight block. That's tight, but that's what he runs. But then on the front, he's got like a 34 or something like that, or 36 small chainer, and he uses that a lot, as far as the inner ring. So you get what you need for the air, because he does not need a 25 or a 28 for the things that we have around here for his level. He's a light guy and he's very strong. So he doesn't need those smaller things. I like the 25 and a 28 because it allows me to spin and keep my legs supple as I ride the climbs, when the very steep ones. But the funny thing about it is, when I'm riding with other guys and we hit the 7%ers, they're not as long as Asborns. So you got 7% for maybe 10 yards, maybe. That's where the steep pitch is. So you just power over them. So we're riding them in a, let's see, a 62-inch gear, like a 39.17, something like that. Relative. And we're just power because it's just short. It's like a sprinter's bump per se. And then it levels off from 7 to like 3 or whatever. So our climbs are not like his. Like he's saying brutal, meaning it's averaging 8 to 9. That means there are periods of time where he's riding 11%ers and stuff, So yeah, so you must get the gearing for your area so you can enjoy the climb. You don't need to be killing yourself on the climbs every time. And that will teach you how the climb works, so that the day you want to go harder now, you can just shift up to the appropriate cog and go hard for those sections that you choose to, so you can really enjoy the climb. Because if you're just killing yourself every day on a climb, you're not going to look forward to doing it. Just keep that in mind. All right, let's see here. John Hill, he said, I'm considering on making the switch for a hybrid bike to a traditional road bicycle. What should I get? And that's like, man, there's so many choices. A traditional road bicycle. I mean, when you say what you got, I mean the brands. You gotta meet me halfway here. They're all good. They're like cars now. It's just a matter of what brand you want to go with, what price range. But the first thing you should do, John, is make sure you get sized for your bike. So you know what size road bike will work for you. Once you get the size, then you just pick what you want, whether it's carbon, titanium. That's why I'm saying meet me halfway. You got carbon, titanium, steel. Steel gets the bad name of being heavy. Not anymore. They got some nice lightweight steels out there. The steel has improved, just like carbon. I prefer steel because I don't have to worry about, the metal. I don't have to wonder, did that fall start a hairline crack in there? Since I've written carbon frames, and I've read articles about it, but I speak from my own experience. After my carbon frames aged, the ride were terrible. I don't know if this is true of all carbon frames, but I had a cow feet, and as it got older, it just rode poorly. It just felt like a limp noodle per se. And I've read some other articles about that said something similar. It's almost like, so be careful buying used carbon frames. It's almost like as they age, the ride qualities change. I don't know why, but that's what I experienced. So I went back to the frames I knew, the steel and so forth. And they've got steel frames that come with carbon forks, which lightens the front end, So I've got a steel frame, the Colnago with a steel fork. Yeah, it feels heavy, but when you're rolling, I don't know as much, I know if I were doing a mountain climb, I'd probably be at a deficit. But I also have a steel frame that has a carbon fork. Fine. And then I've got a titanium. That titanium frame rivals any carbon frame out there. The one that Kish built. So you have choices, and don't stray from custom bikes. Custom bikes, you can get them built to where you would spend less than off the shelf, and it will be built to fit your body. That's why I always bring them up. So yes, first thing is bike sizing. You know what size will fit your body, and you start there, and then decide what route you want to go. But a lot of the bikes off the shelf, I don't lean towards them because they just don't fit me very well. I like a long top tube, like a 60 centimeter top tube minimum, so I can put a 12 or 13 stem. Anything smaller, I got to use really long stem because I use long top tube. But the bikes off the shelf, their geometry, you got to go so high. I got to ride like a 62 or 63 when I really need a 56 to get that length in the top tube. So my Kish is a 55 with almost a 60 top tube. So, and it cost me $3,000 for the frame. So that's pretty competitive. And I'm not saying competitive to be diplomatic, because some of the custom carbon frames you saw, I'm not even custom, off the shelf, $14,000 for Avenge and all that. And their angles that wouldn't work for me. So yeah. So there's so many choices, but start with a sizing. And if you've got a local fitter you trust, use them, or you can use our online sizing, get the size you need, and then find whatever bike you like, whether it's carbon, whatever, and the brand, and find what you like. Then you find their size, and we'll let you know what stem will work with what top tube. Do all of that. If you tell me what brand when you sign up for the sizing, I will spec it to what the manufacturer has on their site and tell you, yes, this stem will fit you with this top tube length, because it's very complicated. That way you get a bike you can fit. Okay, let's see here. The Gundu 12. I went for a bike fit, and the bike fitter suggested I convert from 172.5 to 165. I'm 171 centimeters tall. Why is this? I don't want to contradict your bike fitter because I haven't seen you, but I've ridden. I'll use me for an example. I've ridden 180. I've ridden 172. I've ridden one. I currently ride 175. And let's see, what am I? 180 something. I'm 6'2", so about 188 centimeters. I'm pretty tall. It really has a lot to do with preference more than anything. And so I'm sure there's a reason why the fitter is recommending that. I don't like to recommend a lot of non-standard things that people have to spend extra money for unless it's absolutely necessary. Most of the bikes come with 172.5. And then the bigger frames, they just put 175 on there. Because when I rode 180 cranks and I went back to 175, I just found that I preferred the 175. I had to adjust my saddle as I changed the cranks, of course. You know, the shorter cranks would affect the pedaling circle and so forth. But I rode both and I didn't have any ill effects. Now, some people claim that it can affect you. I don't buy it. I believe that your body will get used to it. When I rode 172.5s, I didn't notice any ill effects for me as far as my ability to spin, sprint, or whatever. And now I ride 175s just the same. You guys see my high cadences that I keep. But I believe that after a few weeks of training, your body will adapt. It's a matter of whether you're having a problem with 172.5. 171, you're not that small. A lot of women will use the shorter cranks. If you can get the 175, a 165 easily without spending a lot of money, try it, see if you like it. But have the fitter tell you why, because they've seen you. I only recommend stuff if somebody's having a problem, because the 172.5 should work. Okay, I think he's trying to get you biomechanically linked, because you're small. 171, the 172.5. If you're 5'5", 5'8", that works great. That's why they slam it on most bikes. It's like a middle of the road. So 171, yeah, maybe he's trying to get you to where it's something more efficient for you. So it might be a good thing if you're not spending a lot to get that part. Because some of the things that are not standard, you pay a little extra to get it. I think if you're buying a Grupo, you can ask to have it switched out for you. But that's a good reason. And so, yeah, there's a reason. If he's doing that, he sounds like he's very meticulous and trying to dial you in, to what your body will be more efficient with. So I went down from 180 to 175 because it's, oh, you're 6'2", you got long legs, you can do 180. I never liked the 180s. They were fine. They actually were better in a time trial than in the road races. And so I tried them and I was like, I want to try something shorter. So they just tried 175 and found that I like that better than the 170. The 172.5s were okay because you're talking 2.5 millimeters. It's 3 strands of hair. It's not that big a deal. It's so close. So, yeah, but I think that there's a good reason he's moving you back to that. So you might want to ask him or her, whoever the fitter is. But yeah, don't discard that reasoning because we don't recommend those every day. So if he's doing that, there's a good reason. Because most fitters want you to be able to easily get your parts. They're not going to put you on 165 unless it's necessary. But the shorter cranks come on the smaller frames. So just because you're 171, the reason I'm answering the question this way, that doesn't tell me your leg length. Everybody's different. You can be 6'2", and one person's taller, longer in the lower part of the body and shorter here. So you could have really long legs and still be 171. So I don't know your dimensions. So go with your fitter. That's a good reason. Chris Barron said, final question, would you race again? Yeah, I would. But race for what? Now the races they have, they give you a medal and all of that. And when you've already made money racing, it's kind of like the race for a medal. We ride with the same guys that are doing the races in our area. And that's the same thing wherever you are. The WCC guys, that's a race team. And that's the reason why Paul has never raced. I've raced. So the training that we were doing were more for long distance touring per se. And it prepares you for racing. And that's why we're starting to go with them and go longer and longer, because now it's the middle of the summer. They're ramping up their efforts because they do some races. Even Mo still does races, but he'll do the ones that are nearby because he don't want to drive for 3 hours to do a race. So that's the thing. That's the biggest reason with racing. You're traveling all the time. These guys, Froome and Geraint Thomas and whatever, yeah, they're making big bucks. After a while, they get tired of being away from the family all the time. If you listen to a lot of the pros, they're like, okay, we're done. It's time to go back home or whatever. They're gone all the time, living out of suitcases and hotels. It gets old real fast. So I did that for a while. Then I got into consulting, IT consulting. And so I was still traveling. And I got old too. It's just a travel. It's not so much the racing per se. So no, we have them local here. Like Tuesday nights, they call it a Hammer Fest. It might as well be a Criterium. It's fast. And it's 45 minutes. I can't get to it because I have my kids in the afternoon. But I have access to the effort. So I'm doing the effort. And that's what I've got Paul doing now, so we can start doing that. So yeah, I would do races again because the local ones is no big deal. You can get a temporary license. And maybe next year I'll just get a license for the whole year. But you do what they call masters racing. And then you can race with the Pro 1, 2, 3, or you could do like the Masters 50 plus or whatever category you want to do. They don't restrict you that much. That's what Mo does. So when he's in the mood, he'll drive maybe an hour somewhere near Huntsville. He went and did a race earlier. And so they do different races throughout the year. But, when you've been there, done that, the same guys that we ride with, they go in and do the races, and then you'll have guys from Dallas and other places that come. There was a guy that lived here, a Category 1 racer, almost pro. His name was Mark Brown. Now he lives in Dallas. So the racers know each other. And then with Strava, they actually follow each other. So they know each other. So you get to see the top guys. And you always got new faces. So yeah, it's not so different than. So if I wanted the thing with racing, I just do the Hammer Fest on Tuesday and then do the WCC ride. That you get your fix there locally. But yeah, it's I can handle it. It's just that the travel. Texas is so big. Texas is like France. And so you drive hours between where they're holding these races. So you look at the calendar and you find one that's nearby. And yeah, we may do some races and we'll film it. I think that would be cool. As the channel grows, we get more support to handle the logistics, and the expense. Probably something we'll do down the road. Let's see here. Okay, John was explaining what the BCCAs, the branch chain amino acids. Yeah, just read up about it, man. See if it's something you want to try. I don't get into all the technicalities. I mean, I stayed with the carbs because when I raced, that's what we used. We had a team that would package stuff, whatever your flavor, your taste, and you want to drink stuff that you can keep down. And the liquid carb, anything liquid gets in your system quicker. That's the reason we use the gel when we're going hard. You don't need to use a lot of energy and blood to process solids when you're racing. You need the energy for your muscles. That's why people use gels. And then when the pace is slow, you eat the solids, whether you're carrying apples, whatever. The key is that if you're riding longer, you need energy. And the cycling is a very tough sport. It's different. You're not just doing it for 40 minutes. You do it for hours, and you're doing aerobic and different efforts. So it's a very challenging sport compared to many others out there. So yeah, so just don't, the expense can add up. Don't start buying all this fancy stuff thinking that necessarily that's going to give you a leg up. Find out what you can tolerate and keep down, and keep it simple. You need carbs. Whether you get it from pasta, rice, potatoes, that's up to you. But if you're on the road, it's not practical, then you use the carb in its powder form. The one I use has whey protein in there because you need protein to rebuild your muscles. That's why I use that one. And the flavor is really good and it's tolerable. There are many others out there. I mean, SIS has recovery stuff and different things. I use the whey protein at High Five. I just like the flavor, and I get it from Chain Reaction. They're now purchased by, I think they're owned by Wiggle. And I get the little bottle, and I use that. It works fine. Let's see here. Robert said, does the little chalkboard in the studio have a cycling purpose? Yeah. Those are my hours for the week. You got a good eye. In the studio, when you enter, I don't know when you saw it. It must have been in an older video because the way I have the camera set up now, it's on the left. You don't see it until I'm leaving. The chalkboard has my training zones. I do threshold tests every 3 months. Not a whole lot of fun, but I do it. And the changes are subtle, but I do it as part of a workout, 30 minutes, and I keep 20 minutes, and I look at that. And I calculate my zones, and I put them on the board so I can have an idea of if I'm doing zone 3 today or zone 4 or whatever, these are the numbers I want to see. And so sometimes if I go out to ride and I can't hit my zones, then I know my legs are tired or whatever's going on. So I try to keep that as a gauge. But that's what they're for. And I also have a certain number of hours I want to do every ride per se. So let's say Tuesday I want to do 2 hours. That's my cap. And so sometimes I'll go out, do an hour, hour and a half, whatever, depending on how I feel. Or if I feel really good that day and I have the time, I might do 3 hours or more, and then the other day I'll just have to back off. So you set these parameters per day. And okay, I want to do 2 hours on Tuesday, 3 hours on Wednesday, 3.5, 4 on Thursday. Friday, if I have time, I do an hour. And then Saturday I have 6 hours, then Sunday 4. That's just a gauge. I don't have to hit those targets per se, but that's to remind you every time you're leaving, it's Tuesday, you're shooting for 2 hours. If you get out there, you feel crappy, you do less. You get out there, you feel great, do more. That's what they're for, Robert. That's what that board is for. Then the left of the chalkboard, I had that custom made. There's a company that does that. I made one for the house for recipes upstairs. But on the left side, we have a cork board next to the chalkboard, and I keep little notes on training and different things on there. Things I may have made a video about or ideas. I have them taped there. The push pin holds them. That's what it's for. Yeah, just a reminder as you go out the door. It kind of okay. The goal here is 2 hours. That's why Saturday it's 6 hours. So when these guys start having flats and all that, I get a little concerned. I want to be out there at 2 in the afternoon, because it's hot. So on Saturday, all those stops that you saw, even though I sped it up, and that's the reason why 2 guys had a problem. We picked up the pace. We rode hard. When you saw us in the forest, that was zone 4. We don't usually ride that hard, but we covered more ground. We kept pushing because I wanted to get my time in and make up for and we still ended up doing it. So it wasn't too bad. We didn't get home too late, but we had to ride harder, faster. So some people went back from the lake house and other people went with us. But yeah, you always want to have goals like that, set based on the time you have for the week. And that's why I mentioned the people I train. That's the first question on the thing when they sign up for coaching. How many hours are you able to devote every day of the week to cycling? And then the first thing I do is pick which days are best for them to rest. And then it's just a gauge. And if you have to change it, that's fine. But it's just a guideline. All right. Let's see here. Edwin Adams. What is this? After a hilly 100-mile ride, I lose the taste for food. And if I eat something, the food hitting the back of my throat burns like hell, and I can't eat anything for a while. That's odd. I don't think it's because of a ride. A hilly 100-mile ride. You lose the taste for food. Yeah, you shouldn't. You might want to look into that. Don't really know why you're having that problem. Because about 45 minutes or an hour after I ride, I'm ready to eat something. I'm talking solid. But hopefully you're eating during the ride as well, so you're not totally depleted at the end. But there shouldn't be anything burning your throat or anything just because you rode. So I'm not really sure what's going on. You may want to check with a doctor or something and see if you're having some other problem. I don't think it's because of you riding that you do that. John Wesley says, Eldred, however, certain meds and a vitamin can cause dark or green urine. Well, that's true, but if you're not on meds and your urine's dark, then you're behind. The key is to make sure you're well hydrated, especially riding in hot weather. You don't want to be dehydrated. You can have serious problems. It's not good for the body. It's not good for the body to be behind on fluids because we are mostly water. The human body is made up of mostly water. For you to perform, you need water. If you watch the rides, I drink even though I'm not thirsty, just out of habit. After a hard effort, and there's a law, I grab the bottle, take a little something. And you've probably read publications where they say, oh, drink every 15 minutes or whatever. They're looking for the frequency so you can drink. Because it's like if you focus so much on the effort and you don't drink, by the time you're behind, you might start cramping or other things going on. You don't want to be behind on fluids for whatever reason. So if you're taking medication and you expect your urine to be dark, that's fine. Just make sure you're drinking. But the mantra where they say 8 glasses of water, it's a good gauge. What they mean is drink often, drink frequently. It doesn't have to only be water. It can be juice, whatever. Just drink. Get enough fluid. And then when you're working out, you need a drink. We don't play with water. We stop specifically to get water. We don't mess around. We just stop, load up, and then go. In fact, at the stops, I drink while I'm there. Then I load up the bottles. And when I get home, I still have water in my bottles. That's the way I do it. Because I've seen the effects of being behind, and especially in hot weather. That's what happened to that guy. He was basically turning beet red. You don't want to do that. You can have a lot of problems. Heat stroke is not fun. It can kill. So no, don't play with that. Because cycling is fun, but it's challenging if you're riding with people who are forcing the pace and you're doing your best to keep up and you're pumped up and all that. It's easy to get wrapped up in that and forget. So you don't forget to take care of yourself. You got to drink. That's very important. And you watch the pros when they go to the south of France, like in the Tour de France, they drink more water. The team car has water. You see that. They drink even more water when it's very hot in the south of France. They pour water on themselves and all that. Try to keep that core temperature down because then your performance can be consistent. You start overheating, man. It's hard to turn the pedals. Let's see here. Where was I? Let's see. John Wesley, Jeffrey Davis, John Hill. I converted my hybrid to, okay, he's responding to John. Jeffrey Davis said he converted his hybrid to a road bike, heavy but good learning and training opportunity. Yeah, the hybrid bike, it's okay. You put the right tires on there or whatever. But if you want an actual road bike, just like I said, get fitted and get something that fits you. DJ Tony, I agree with you. At Jeffrey said he says a hybrid conversion could also serve as a low budget gravel or cross bike. Yeah. So Asborn is responding to my comment. I rolled through a few of the comments where the guys are talking to each other here, and Asborn says, correct, Elder, hence why I have an 1140 with a compact crank. Exactly. That's what I was talking about when Osborne was saying that he has 8 or 9% average gradient, which I said sometimes you got more than that, 12 or whatever. That's just the average. So he says he's got an 1140. 1140, yeah, you should be able to handle. Yeah, you got more jumps between gears, but that's, yeah, with a compact on the front. I mean, he's got a 34 and a 40 in the back. So that means the gear in the back is bigger than his inner chain ring. Yeah, he's making sure he's got a combination to take it easy on those things when he wants to. Well, that's good. Yeah, I saw a 34 on Doug Schatz, the guy who was in the green on the last ride that you guys saw. He has a 34 because he's going to Maryland to do 2 mountain passes in one day. They're going to do 200 miles in one day. And he's got a 34. That thing looked huge. So I can't imagine what your 40 looks like. It looked like a pizza. Oh, man, yeah. And he had to get a long cage derailleur, of course. You know, yeah. So Asborn is saying he's an old fart a fat fart in these hills needs some granny love. Oh, come on. I don't care what your age is or whatever. Yeah, you got some steep climbs. You have that. You're not going to ride that all the time, but you can enjoy the climb because actually, if you're using the 3440, you get to learn the climb, go on an easy ride, learn where the pitches are. Then the day you want to go faster, you're already familiar with the climb. I think it's more fun to do it that way. I think that's good. That's that when the pros do a reconnaissance, they're not hammering. When they go check out a climb, they're not hammering. They're just riding and they're learning where moves are going to happen. They're not hammering. And a lot of them may not even do the whole climb. The team car will drive them to just check out the critical areas. Yeah. You don't want to be hammering all the time. You get sick of it. You know, like if you have a course where you're doing a race on it, it's nearby, you can go check it out like on a Wednesday or something. You don't hammer it on a Wednesday because you might be sick of it when it's time to race it. You just ride it and get to learn it and know, okay, this area, this would be a good place to make a move or somebody might make a move here. That's all that's about. You know, you don't need to go fast all the time. Even during the fast ride, when you're in the back, that's when you're taking it easy. If you're fit, you sit back there, you take it easy. That's why I'm watching everybody else, see people having problems. I know who's been riding with us. It doesn't mean that you have to ride with us to be in shape. But when a new person shows up, and like the guy on Saturday, he stood out because, first of all, I haven't seen him on the ride. And second of all, his cadence told me he's not doing it right. Because early in the ride, he was just muscling, you know, you're burning your sugars. It's like, you know, kind of like when you start your car in the morning, you don't just start racing to work. You got to let the engine temperature reach normal operating temperature because then the fuel efficiency is there. That's what I mean. I could tell that he was a bit inexperienced. I don't know if he's ready for this distance. That was my concern. But you can go short. You can go 20 miles and be okay. I said, I hope he realizes this is a long day per se. And that's why I kind of kept my eye on him. Even in the forest when he started straining just to get on the wheel, he was just burning matches. And it caught up with him. And it has happened to me. And other people have pointed it out when I was new in cycling. And then you just get to where you see those things that stand out, you know. And I always look for the new guy or the weak guy or the slow guy to make sure she is okay instead of just riding away from people, because you want that person to be encouraged to come back so you grow your group. You know, if you only got 3 or 4 guys showing up all the time, when 2 people don't show up, then you got nobody left. That's what's going on with WCC. Sometimes, like Sunday, we only had 3 riders. I'm like, where are the rest of the people? The heat scares people away because some people will get up early at 6, go ride, and get back home by 8:30. They're done. So they're riding. They're just not coming to the group ride. They don't want to deal with all that heat. They go and get their workouts in like they do before work, you know, early. They go early. Let's see here. Nima. I do have 175 on my most used cranks as well. I'm 176 and might be recommended 170. These work just fine. I sit closer to the bottom bracket, but aero tuck is a tight spot. I don't know if your crank is causing you to have problems with the aero because they can move your body. So you shouldn't have to. The crank's not going to correct any kind of aero issue per se. So you probably want to look at the fit of your saddle per se because it's right here, you know, where you're sitting. But yeah, cranks are expensive, and the unusual sizes, they'll charge you more because they're not everyday sizes. So just be careful before you buy them. They got to be really necessary because they're pricey. Let's see here. Ian says he's running in late. I know if you didn't miss too much. I actually started the session a little early, Ian. I started at 4:15 thinking about you because I remember you guys are on the other side of the pond and it's later in the evening. So we started about 15 minutes earlier to accommodate some of you guys. So hopefully you didn't miss too much. Let's see here. Chris says, I forgot how big the U.S. is. My American mate and I drove from Nashville to Atlanta and back in one day. Like he was going to the shop for some milk. Yeah, that's crazy. And we have that in, I'll give you for an example. Texas is about the size of France if you look at it on a map. Close. Houston might as well be a country. And Houston is a city, is one of the cities in Texas. The major cities, you got Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, you have Austin. Austin is smaller. Houston, people will drive for say 2.5, 3 hours. They're still in Houston just to go to work. Some people, I mean, and I'm talking because of the congestion or whatever. Like where we start our rides, we're about maybe 70 kilometers from the city center. We're north, the Woodlands area. Okay. Just to drive from where we are to go to the city center in the morning may take someone over an hour because of the congestion. You know, so you have people that are commuting several hours one way within the same city in a car because they have not invested in improving the mass transit. Everybody's one person to a car. So they're all sitting in there going the same direction. So it's just a big mess, you know, because this is car country. Everybody has a car. You know, it's not as, I don't want to make it sound terrible. It just takes a while if you're going. So you have to plan your day to where if you don't have to be there when everybody's going, you go later and then you can move along. But you could drive for more than an hour at highway speed or roadway speed. I'm talking, say, 70 miles an hour, and you're still in the city of Houston. That's how big it is. It's huge. You know, so if you're starting to go to Dallas, that's the city north of Houston, it takes 4 hours by car to go from Houston to Dallas one way. That's half, you know, that's half a business day just to drive up there. So we have a lot of races in the Dallas area, and then in San Antonio is 3 hours west. So yeah, it just got old, all that travel. And in Texas, that's just the way Texas is huge. You know, you drive 10 hours from Houston before you get to the border with the state of New Mexico, going west. 10 hours in a car to leave the state going west. You can leave the state in 2 hours going east to New Orleans from where we are in Houston. So yeah, it's just too much driving. And you know, after a while, you're like, okay. And that's why airplanes are popular, you know, even with all the stuff you got to go through. Welcome, Jamal. You finally made it. Robert Tengla, I've been in the studio once with you and Paul when I picked up the, because that's why yeah, I remember now. That's why you noticed. Yeah, I use that board because I make changes to it. In the winter, I change the hours. In the summer, I change the hours, and then I put in season and off season and all of that. It just gives me a guide. And so when family comes and they're like, oh, I want you to do that. Oh, let's see, it's Tuesday. I need 2 hours for the bike. So that's the way I do it. It's okay. I got 2 hours for the bike. So let's see. I'm going to do that this time of day, and we can do it later. It keeps the peace. Everybody knows I got 2 hours a day. And that's what you have to do. You don't have to put it on the board. You can put it on your phone, on your calendar, and make an appointment with your bike for your health. You know, if some guy came, hey, Ian, some guy, thanks for the super chat. Some guy came to the channel, he posted under a video. You guys remember one of the videos I made where I said, you're the asset, take care of yourself and all of that. He posted, he said, I never looked at it that way, that I'm the asset. Yeah, you got to take care of yourself. You know, you have 24 hours in the day. That's yours. You have to decide, how much do I want to give to me? Me meaning you, your family, your hobbies, whatever. And how much do I want to give to making money to pay bills? That's the way you have to look at it. And then when you make decisions, whether you buy a boat or an airplane or whatever you're going to buy, you got to look at it at, okay, how many hours each day I'm going to have to earn money to pay for that thing I'm buying? You know, whether it's a bike, whatever. That's the way you have to look at it, because you're sacrificing something, and it's time to earn the money to get this stuff. So nothing's wrong with that. So take your time, and when you're buying that stuff, get what you really like, and then you're done. So you don't have to keep sacrificing more time. Because nowadays, especially in the US, I'm still not used to it. I hope I never get used to it. They advertise cars without prices now. Oh, $200 a month. That's not a price. $200 a month for how long? The rest of your life? That's not a price. What's the price of the product? They don't even list the prices anymore. But everything's financed. You know, now they're running commercials on TV where they'll show somebody's credit score being low, and then they show a crappy car, and then they say, "Oh, when the credit score goes to 700 or something, then all of a sudden the person has a nicer car." So they've got everybody geared towards this debt here in the U.S. I don't know how it is the rest of the world, but that's what we're seeing on the telly. Everybody's being geared to like you got to borrow for everything, and that's just wrong. Save your money, buy what you want, be done, move on, so you have your time. Because if you borrow too much, you're basically enslaved to all the people you owe. You can never quit a crappy job when you got all these obligations. You know, you got a boss that's a jerk, and you got to put up with that because you're paying for all this crap. So hurry up and pay for that stuff and tell him to go shove it. I don't know how I got there, but that's how I feel. You know, so we gotta get away from all this stuff. Buy it, get the cash, buy what you want, then move on. You know, save up, buy what you want, quit borrowing. Forget about all that. They're getting us to where these financial companies are living off of us. All this interest that we're paying on this debt. That's where it is. So we got to get away from that. So we reclaim our time. And on that note, we're going to end this session. I want to thank all the super chatters, all the new people. Welcome every Wednesday. I'm thinking between 4 and 4:15 we'll start. So Ian, those of you who are used to the 4:30, because I think 4 o'clock here is about 10 o'clock in the UK. We have a lot of people on the other side of the pond that will be able to attend that. So we'll keep it between 4:30 like we've been doing. That's kind of what I want to shoot for. So I want to thank all of you guys and stay safe. It's hump day. Keep those doctors fired. Get your K's in, whether on the trainer or outside. We'll talk again. Friday, there's a new video coming out with the review of the lightweight jersey. Darryl, you're welcome.